Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Queen Elizabeth, A Day in Her Life. So today we're going to look at Prince Philip and his relationships with Prince Charles, Princess Anne, and Prince Edward and Prince Andrew. First, we'll start with Prince Philip and Princess Anne. Princess Anne was the only daughter of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. Close friends and family said that Philip's favorite child was Anne. She was so much like him. HelloMagazine.com stated, after the birth, he allegedly told everyone, "It's the sweetest girl." When she was growing up in the royal household, Anne confessed that she didn't mind if her parents weren't around much. According to independent.co.uk, the two shared a love of sports and horse riding and are said to have much in common in terms of their temperaments. Royal commentator Victoria Arbiter described Anne as rough and tumble. She was up for anything, so Philip and Anne really had always shared a lovely relationship. She was no nonsense, and she's very much like her father in that regard, and Anne just gets on with it. Vanity Fair said she had a reputation for having inherited her father's famously sharp tongue and waspish wit, once famously telling photographers to naff off when they got in her way. They shared many of the same characteristics of being outspoken, abrasive, stubborn, strong-willed, sarcastic, and also they had the same sense of humor, which could be at the expense of others. Neither would suffer fools gladly or at all, and both were impatient with those who did not grasp things as quickly as they did themselves. Anne knew at an early age that she was second place to Charles. Anne said, "I became used to an early age to being called tail end Charlie." Prince Philip knew what that was like because he had to take a second seat to Queen Elizabeth. He immediately started to instruct his only daughter in how to handle the frustrations and tribulations of court life, where all the attention was on her brother. And there is a strong physical resemblance and similar mannerisms between them. Anne loved sports, and when she was growing up, she was constantly with her father when he was playing polo. And it was Philip who taught Anne to sail on Loch Muick on the Balmoral estate, and it was he who directed her enthusiasms towards sporting rather than academic achievements. Anne said that life without her father will be completely different, and she can be able to keep pace with the kind of technological changes that have such an impact. But above all that, it's not about the technology, it's about the people. Prince Philip and Prince Charles, over60.co.nz said that Philip wasn't a patient man, and he was a practical man. He struggled with Charles because he was so different from him. Unlike Prince Charles, who was a mirror of his mother, sensitive and patient, Prince Anne closely resembled her father, and people felt that Philip found Prince Charles exasperating. Near the end of Prince Philip's life, Charles was one of the first members of the royal family to be seen visiting his father when he went to the hospital for treatment for a pre-existing heart condition, which suggested that the two had grown closer in recent years. So Prince Charles was a dreamer, and he indulged in his own passions, and Prince Philip felt that it was his job to prepare his son for the throne. He felt it would be best if Charles went to the same school as he did, because it shaped him into the person he became. But Charles, he was bullied there, and he felt like being at the Scottish school was like a prison sentence. The school was Gordonstoun School on Scotland's north coast. So Prince Philip went to the school from the age of 13, and he was captain of the cricket and hockey teams as well as head boy. And while Charles was there at the age of 17, he was given the lead role in the school performance of Macbeth. People said that Prince Philip was good with kids. He knew that Charles was destined for a life of privilege and scrutiny, so he was trying to help Charles develop character in his life, knowing the life he had to lead. And Prince Philip was upset when Charles and Diana's marriage ended. The Duke of Edinburgh had written to both of them in hopes it would help fix things. And they said that years later, Prince Philip and Charles started to grow closer. They are both artists, and they're both fascinated by wildlife, the Navy, and young people. And like his father, Prince Charles came to believe that the monarchy needed to adapt to the times and win over the public through initiatives. But it was ultimately his relationship with Camilla that helped to bridge a gap, because she really knows how to get on with people. She knows about family. So Prince Charles saw his father in a different light when his ex-wife, Princess Diana, died. The Queen wanted to keep the grandkids in seclusion at Balmoral, but Prince Philip wanted them to be kept busy. A member of the Balmoral staff noted that Prince Philip, who had effectively lost his own mother at the age of 10 when she was committed for 3 years to an asylum in Switzerland, was brilliantly effective with his grandsons, offering them gruff tenderness and outdoor activities like stalking and hiking to tire them out. And this is what author Tina Brown wrote in her book, The Diana Chronicles. He was also instrumental in the decision for Harry and William to walk behind their mother's coffin at their funeral, reportedly asking them the night before, "If I walk, will you walk with me?" So Prince Charles said he phoned his father at Windsor on April the 8th to talk about his plans for the 100th birthday, which was coming up in June. And in the documentary, Prince Philip, the royal family remembers, Charles said he told Philip, "We're talking about your birthday." He then repeated himself louder for the Duke, who was hard of hearing, saying, "We're talking about your birthday and whether there's going to be reception." And then Philip replied, "Well, I've got to be alive for it, haven't I?" So he was a pragmatic person even to the end. So next, Prince Andrew and Prince Philip. According to thelist.com, Prince Philip would often lose his patience and even his temper with Andrew, and that his wife Sarah, known as Fergie, would often defend him. And back in 1986, Vanity Fair said Andrew's romantic escapades, together with the much publicized midshipman japes he has a penchant for practical jokes, earned him the reputation of the royal loudabout town, a label that saddened his mother and annoyed his father. At the time, it was believed that Prince Philip, while frustrated by some of his son's unseemly antics, actually admired Andrew's macho man attitude and preferred it to Charles's sensitive soul-searching. Philip and the royal family thought of the pair as identical, with similar mannerisms, something that delighted the prince. The things between Philip and Andrew got worse with the sex scandal Andrew was involved in. According to thelist.com, the monarch had been stripped of his military titles, meaning he was no longer able to use the term His Royal Highness, and this came after a judge allowed the sexual abuse case against Andrew to proceed. While the news was shocking to some, Andrew wasn't fulfilling his royal duties since the scandal came to light in 2019. The decision for Andrew to step aside was made by the whole family, and it was an unfortunate moment leading up to Philip's death just 2 years later. But they were closer when Andrew was younger. Prince Philip felt an instant connection to Andrew when he was born, and Philip seemed more protective over Andrew, and in return he was not put out by his father's commands and bonded closely with him. Andrew even followed in his father's footsteps by going straight into Naval College instead of a university. And when he was born, Andrew was also the first child to be given the surname Mountbatten Windsor, which was in honor of Philip's last name, Mountbatten. So Prince Philip and Prince Edward. Prince Edward had a very close relationship with his father. Prince Philip was present at his youngest son's birth, and unlike his other children, who he wasn't in the same room. The Queen, by then age 37, had asked him to be there, and she had been keenly reading women's magazines that stressed the importance of involving fathers in childbirth, and had become fascinated by the idea. So Prince Philip was holding Queen Elizabeth's hand when Edward was born. So breaking with royal tradition, his presence at the birth seemed to have solidified a deeper bond between Edward and his parents. Prince Philip was understanding when his son decided to leave the Marines. Prince Philip apparently thought of Edward's decision to leave and work in entertainment as a brave one, after the former Earl of Wessex said he was never going to fit into the Marines as well as he imagined due to his security. So Prince Philip only had one picture of his children in his study, and that one was of Edward. So Prince Philip loved children, and if he was hard on his children, he was just trying to prepare them for their adult lives. It seemed that Philip mellowed some with age. It was much easier on Edward, and at one point Andrew. All of his children and grandchildren loved him, and when Prince William was approached by Matt Smith, who was playing Prince Philip on the show The Crown, the pair crossed paths at a charity polo match. So Smith couldn't resist asking Prince William if he had any advice, and William said just one word: legend. And he's right. Philip was a bit of a rock star, really. So I hope everybody enjoyed the video, and if you did, if you could give it a thumbs up, it would be greatly appreciated. And if you would like to be notified whenever a new video is released, just hit the notification bell if you haven't done so already. I hope everybody's been having a good day, and tune in again soon for another episode of Queen Elizabeth, A Day in Her Life. Thank you. Bye.